So why did I actually stop buying real estate? I've been an investor for over 20 years. I'm going to share with you my experience over the last 20 years. And by the end of the video, you may be asking yourself as well, should I actually buy any real estate in 2024? Look, over the last 20 years, I've done everything. Let me explain. If you're watching me right now and you're working a 9-to-5, or you're somebody who's an entrepreneur and you're struggling to get, like, where do I go? Where do I put my money? Where should I invest my money? Where's a safe place to put my money, right? Maybe you're a tiger in a cage, and maybe you're part of the very high percentage of people that are unengaged at work and just unhappy at doing the same thing over and over again, but you're forced to do it because you've got a family, but you don't know where to put your money. This video is going to be for you. Watch every second of this video because I'm going to share with you my journey, and by the end of this video, you may just consider why I actually decided to say, you know what, I'm not purchasing anything right now. First and foremost, if you don't know, interest rates are very high right now, right? We're still in that bubble where the interest rates are between 5 and 7 to 8%. And so if you're going to purchase a property, unless you're sitting on a bunch of cash, or you're going to invest into something, like a foreclosure, or you're going to buy something completely cash free, then it makes sense to purchase. But if you're going to give the money to the bank and giving them 7% interest, it's probably not a good move. Now, look, I've been an investor for over 20 years, and I've done everything from the bottom of the barrel, like your wholesaling, right? The wholesaling is for people that are broke, basically, but they have a lot of time. Okay, it's kind of the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion. Then you're going to move up to, you've got your fix and flips. That's where you can get a hard money loan, and you can purchase the property with a hard money, which is again high interest, and basically renovate the property, and then you can sell it. And then you've got your burst strategies where you can buy it, you can renovate it, and then you can refinance it, right? And then repeat, right? That's your burst strategy. So that's some people do that, where they purchase property and they renovate it and they hold it as a rental. And then you've got your sub-2 deals, your seller financing deals, and I've been through all these different things, even up to apartments, where I've spent millions of dollars in investing into apartments with a good friend of mine. You guys may know Uncle G, Mr. 10X. And so I actually found something, and this may help you. I think what we're all searching for is what we would call a good cash on cash. Meaning, if we put in money, what could the return be? And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this video is to keep it very transparent about my experience in why I got into arbitrage, why I got into Airbnbs in the beginning 7 years ago. Wholesaling, again, doesn't require a lot of money to get in. It's just a lot of your time. Fix and flips, right? You've got your credit. You've got to make sure you've got decent credit, right? You've got to have the money there. And then you've got apartments. Obviously, you're going to need credit, or at least put together a team where you've got credit and you've got money to put down. But let me share something with you I think is really going to help you out in what I believe, again, this is a personal opinion, what I believe is one of the greatest investments right now. And Airbnb arbitrage is a fancy way of saying, we don't have to buy the property. Essentially, what we can do, guys, is we can rent a property from a landlord who owns the property, get their permission by having them sign a document, and then taking that property and actually putting it on short-term rental platforms, i.e. Airbnb, vrbo, bookings.com, Flipkey, Furnish Finder, etc. And you can take that property and put it there, and then you can start getting bookings. Now, that's essentially a hospitality business. I want you to think of like the hotel business, where people are going in and out on a consistent basis. It's the same thing, but on a smaller basis. And one of the things that I've done really well is being able to get these properties very quickly and getting the landlords to say, yes, let's work together. And so before I give you the numbers, and again, none of these numbers are to be considered a guarantee, even a realistic number. Everybody's background and everybody's experience, and there's a lot of factors that may weigh, and I don't know your work ethic and etc., right? So I want to make that disclaimer up front. But what I will tell you is I think most people are looking for, what if I put my money into something? First and foremost, what is the risk? And then second, what am I likely to see on a return, right? So if you're going to put your money into something, you want to know the return and the risk. Then you can make a sound decision. And so think about arbitrage for a second, which is a fancy way of saying, we don't buy the property, which means we don't have equity in the property, but we can scale it much faster because we're only talking about rentals. What if you can rent a property and your credit score did not play any part? Number one. What if you can rent a property and your experience in Airbnb did not play a part? What if you can rent a property and essentially you've got no references because you don't have any Airbnbs? If that didn't play a part. What if you're working a 9-to-5 and you don't have a whole lot of time? That wouldn't play a part. What if you're an entrepreneur and you've got a couple other things going on and maybe you wanted to add this as an additional stream and that didn't play a part? Would I have your attention because welcome to, in my opinion, the greatest revolutionary real estate hospitality business that ever was created on planet Earth. Arbitrage allows us to get into properties without the ownership with very little upfront capital. And in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, return on investment if done properly. For example, let me give an example, and again, these numbers are just numbers so that you can do the math yourself. For example, and this is just how you factor into getting your cash on cash, just so you guys understand how to do it. These are not realistic numbers. If you took $5,000 and you were gonna take your $5,000 and invest it into Airbnb, a property, okay? For example, maybe you got your first month, you got your security, you got your furniture. I'm gonna use an even number of $5,000. If we took our $5,000, okay, that's our initial investment, and that property had a profit each month of, say, $1,500. By the way, just so you guys know, I teach my students that they shouldn't even be looking for a property that doesn't have an average of $1,500 a month. Anything less than that, I would even pass on the property. So let me give you an example of this. If the property is $5,000 that you're investing total into the business, and you were able to get, again, don't know if you can or not, $1,500 back per month after expenses, okay? I'm just trying to show you how to get to your, what you call the cash on cash. That brought in $18,000 of profit because you put in $5,000, that's your total investment up front, and then the property made $1,500 a month times 12 months. If it was a $1,500 profit times 12 months, that brought back $18,000 after all the expenses. You put in $5,000 and $18,000 came back. That would mean that your cash on cash would be about 350%. Now, these numbers, like I just said, could be realistic, and I'll tell you, they can be very realistic. Now, do I think that you can do it? Maybe not, maybe. But I wanted to do this video because I want to keep it transparent to show you what could potentially be an option. If you invest, and I will tell you, I have spent millions of dollars with investing with Grant Cardone, and I will tell you transparently that every $100,000 that you put in to a fund, he's got an apartment complex, for every $100,000 you get put in, you get about a $600 or 6% return on your money annually. $100,000 in, $600 a month passive. Now, imagine with arbitrage, if you can get into one property for less than $5,000, which is typical, okay? Because what I'm going to share with you in a second what I can do to help you. And you were able to even do, and I don't know, again, these numbers, don't hold me to these numbers, but even if you were to bring in $1,000 take home after expenses, that means $12,000 per year with a $5,000 investment. You're still over 200% return. And I was getting 6% return on a traditional. Most people are getting very little. But when you think of Airbnb, most people think of, I got to purchase a property, right? You're buying a $5,000, let's say you're buying an average, let's say you're buying a $500,000 home. Well, you got to put down about $100,000, right? 20%. And then you've got to furnish the property. You're pocketing another $30,000 right there. So that's $130,000 out of pocket just to buy a $500,000 home. And so what you'd be doing is chasing, how do I get a return? What should my percentage be if I put out $130,000 to be able to get that back? Well, you're probably looking at about 20% return, right? That would be something I would be chasing. But with arbitrage, what if I could show you a way, for example, with that same $100,000, what if I could show you a way to get more than 20 properties? You see the difference? If one property could potentially, and I use that scenario, again, I don't know if that's you or could do it or will not do it. I'm not making any guarantees. But if that one property could bring you back over 200% return with an arbitrage property, which means we're just renting the property, getting the landlord's permission, think about having 20 properties and how that could scale up very, very fast. Now, the reason why I don't talk about money is because I don't want to make any claims and say that you can make a certain amount of money. You'll never see that on any of my channels because I don't know you and I don't know the background education there's a lot of people play. And I will tell you, most people in Airbnb fail. And most people in Airbnb fail because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know the numbers. They got a property from Joe that said they'll rent it to him, right? Joe, who's their neighbor or their uncle, said, hey, you could take my property and put it on Airbnb, fine. Or you went on Zillow and tried to find a property or saw, a little yard sign that said for rent by owners. The reality is this. If you don't know the numbers, never get into anything. It's real estate, location, location, location. And the last thing, and this is why I come to you, would be for you to get a property and understand that the reason why most people fail is because they can't pay the landlord. This is why everybody, when you're talking about the Airbnb bust that everybody's been talking about, It's essentially because they didn't know what they were doing. They got into a property and now they're coming out of pocket because Joe still wants his $2,000 per month for rent and you only brought in $1,000. And in that case, you'd owe Joe $1,000 per month because you signed a 12-month lease. What do you do there? You're gonna bleed out $1,000 a month, and then you're like, forget it, it doesn't work. It's saturated. Airbnb sucks. No, it doesn't. You suck. You don't know what you're doing, and I don't mean you personally because you guys are watching me. And if you've made it this far, listen what I'm telling you. In my opinion, and I've been an investor for over 20 years, I have not found anything that the risk is very low, but the reward can be very high. Meaning, if we're putting this in our LLC name and it has nothing to do with your social security number, your credit is not impacted one iota. You could start a brand new LLC today, get a landlord to say yes, and that potential property, you can get it up there. And if you didn't have to pay your first month of rent and you didn't have to furnish the property, when I say $5,000, I'm helping students do it for much, much less. Think about that for a second with the numbers I just told you. Very clear about making no income claims, because what happens is when people make income claims, they tell you that you're going to make $25,000 a month and sitting on the beach in Tahiti with, right? They're bullshit. They're telling you, if anybody tells you that's a scam. Nobody can predict how much money you're going to make. There's a risk in everything. My job is to mitigate the risk of you failing. And I will tell you something, in arbitrage, the risk is very low. Very low. You don't own the property. You're not using your social. The time investment is very low. I spend 10 to 15 minutes a day looking at one software, and it's very scalable, which means the return could potentially be very big. But you got to have someone helping you, because if you do this on your own, your chances of failure are extremely high. So if you're the kind of person right now, it's like, look, I'd love to start. I want to check this out, and maybe, look, I hear what you say, and I would love an opportunity to learn more. Just put the word Airbnb in comments and let me reach out to you. I wanted to do this video and keep it very, kind of unedited, kind of raw version of really what I had in my experience over the last 20 years and why I believe Airbnb arbitrage is here to stay. People are always looking to vacation. People are always looking to rent. And if you can be on the side of being an Airbnb host and also have the dual benefit of blocking off your calendar for you and your family to go vacation at any time in your places that you don't own, how cool is that? It's one of the greatest industries and one of the greatest inventions I've ever heard of. And I got started back in 2016 in this, and I thought I was late to the game. Here we are now, almost 10 years later, and it's crushing it. Guys, my students are doing really, really, really well, and I would love to have you as part of the team, the most amazing family culture in Airbnb I've created. Put the word Airbnb in comments, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I give you all real stuff, no fluff. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and you can always find me on TikTok as well at Investor Mike. Shoot me a message there. But just put the word Airbnb in comments and I'll reach out to you directly, myself personally, to get you, a little quick 10 minutes so we can talk, get chatting. Let me show you the real game. My name is Investor Mike. Love you guys. Bye.